afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, venture capitalist, securities analyst, and advisor, Morty Davis is a Wall Street legend. In addition, Mr. Davis is an outstanding economist and highly articulate, incisive, and very entertaining political analyst and strategist. He's Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical economic and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a discussion on the upcoming election and other news headlines is Len Carter. Len is an investment banker, business consultant, and private investor. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Welcome back. We missed, I did anyway. I missed you, my favorite people in the whole world. Because of all the Jewish holidays, it was like 4 weeks that we postponed the podcast. But I'm delighted to be back with you all. You're so involved. It's a pleasure to hear from you. The brilliant comments you make me feel inadequate, because often what you say or tell me is more incisive than some of the thought I had about the same subject. So I want to thank you. And even those that are critical of my thoughts or presentation at times, I appreciate you too as well, because you make me rethink my positions and I get new insights. So thank you all. I love you. And I'm delighted to be back with you again on a regular basis, every Wednesday, 6:30. And like I say, every week I have to apologize for the depression I inevitably bring you through these podcasts, because we deal with the current events, with civics and politics, and all of the events of the week that make the headlines. And the newsworthy items that make the headlines are always great tragedies or unbelievable evil acts. I mean, good news doesn't make the headlines. I had some company come to me with a great presentation. They were going to propose that their business plan was to run good news on the internet, make everybody uplifted. And I read their business plan. Apparently they must have spent $100,000 or more to have it prepared, because it was well above their class level, their presentation. But that's what made me invite them in to talk about it, because it was such a well done business plan with projections and promise of enormous rewards for investors. And I turned it down, because after I went through it, I realized that people are not tuned in, or not they're not tuned in. There's never breaking news to interrupt programs on good news, like somebody just graduated Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude, or somebody recovered from cancer. And good news just doesn't make it. Somebody survived a killing spree or an accident. they might do an interview with such a person, but it doesn't make the news like breaking news that we get all the time when there's a mass shooting. And we have mass shootings practically every day of the year, more than 365, at least, shootings that involve more than 4 people getting shot every single day of the year. And if it's just 4 people getting shot, it doesn't even make, it has to be a mass shooting with tons of people wounded and killed and whatnot. So inevitably what we talk about of what happened the prior week or the week that just ended this Wednesday is these events that are so disappointing, you know. Even things that we thought were positive, all of a sudden we're told we can't use, what's the drug, Johnson & Johnson?
Tylenol?
What?
Tylenol?
Tylenol. We can't use Tylenol that all my family is always popping in their mouths as better than aspirin. And so everything that breaks the news has got to be something that disappoints or hurts, makes you feel bad. Somebody like Kirk, who was killed several weeks ago, a wonderful young man, I think his 32nd birthday recently, very young man, with a lovely wife and 2 beautiful babies, and some madman didn't like his ideas and blew his brains out. So I don't know if that depressed you, but it was just a wonderful, wonderful human being. Very religious, very Christian, and even with his dedication to Christianity, he and his wife decided to, what's the word? Celebrate the Jewish Sabbath. They thought it was the rest and the peacefulness and the getting together with family and sitting around a table Friday night and Saturday, eating and talking to their kids was a benefit. So it wasn't out of religion that they did that, but they just thought practically it was a practical thing to do to enhance the quality of their life. As a matter of fact, I don't know how many ever saw it, but the Pope, the prior Pope, or the one before that, I think, maybe the second one back, wrote about the Jewish Sabbath and how he admired it and how he thought it was such a wonderful thing. And that's from the top Christian in the world, or at least the top Catholic. But of those on earth, he's considered the epitome of Christianity. And he found it worthwhile to say, not as a promotion, not telling Christians to practice it, but just as an insight, he talks about it. What a wonderful thing, the practice that the Jewish people adhere to, and follow and following the resting on the seventh day, the Sabbath, Saturday. Christians have, for some reason, I'm not sure why it ever changed, but they turned their Sabbath into Sunday. I think initially, if I'm correct, I'm not sure, they too celebrated on Saturday, but I think because the Jewish people celebrated it, they decided to move their Sabbath to Sunday, which is a nice thing to do, to practice the Sabbath, but they do exactly the same thing they do almost every day of the week. Some of them don't work on Sunday. In the United States, most companies give their employees off on Sunday to rest. But they do this, they'll get onto the car and fix the car or build a house or fix up their basement. They do the same exact thing. So they get in a car and drive throughout the country. Jewish people just stay at home, attend what would be the equivalent of church that the Christians attend on Sunday, spend a lot of time in synagogues praying with a group of fellow Jews, both men and women, and people that are Jewish that never even practiced it come to love it because it's so warm and affectionate and it's so good for kids. Because in our society, as you all know, people hardly spend any time eating together. They're watching television or they're eating out or they're just not together around a meal as the Jewish people are on Friday night and Saturday, where they sit around and talk and interview each other and communicate with each other about the week's events and sing together, dance together. It's so beautiful that people that were never practicing Jews, they were born Jewish, but they somehow come across this experience because they were invited to some Sabbath gathering of their friends, suddenly adopt the behavior and practice on the seventh day, the Sabbath, the holy day of the week for the Jewish people, and enjoy it for the rest of their life, every week of their life. So, how do I get off on that tangent? I'm asking Len Carter, our guest. He's so great, he's so brilliant, he's so helpful. I invite him back all the time. And he's kind enough to comply, because if he charges, he was a consultant with McKinsey formerly before he became an investment banker. So he's used to being consulted. McKinsey is the number one consulting firm in the world. And many of the graduates of the best business school joined McKinsey. It's considered a super job, one where they could help the world and where they themselves could learn a lot more, like being back at a graduate school for years. So Len as I mentioned in prior weeks, has graduated from an Ivy League school, the top Ivy League school, Cornell University, with a master's in electrical engineering. I didn't even know what I think of it as an electrician, but it's much more than that. It requires brilliance and insights and the ability to develop new technologies. So he graduated at the top of his class in electrical engineering from Cornell University. And then he went on to get a master's at one of the best university for knowledge and developing technical skills, engineering skills. It's a college that's known for turning out more Silicon Valley entrepreneurs that reach billion-dollar valuations of their own wealth. And I'm talking about Stanford University, which is in Silicon Valley, San Francisco. So he obtained a master degree from Stanford University, and top of his class again. And then he went to my alma mater, Harvard Business School. I contend it's the best, and it gets that kind of rating from many of the knowledgeable reviewers as the best business school, not only in the United States, but throughout the world, where he graduated at the top of his class again. So at the 3 top schools he went to, he graduated at the top of his class. And that's why it's such a privilege for me and a joy for me to invite him, even though when he disagrees with me, he's way too smart, and he fights with me and aggravates me. I don't want to blow his brains out. It's a good thing I'm not a violent person. I just think about it. Anyway, thank you for joining us again this week.
My pleasure. Thanks for having
me. I really
me.
appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners get to develop that same appreciation. So now that I introduced the fact that we're going to depress you, I'd like to start by saying the best way to get your life on a happy state, and this is from experts I get feedback from, leading experts on the subject of happiness, tell me they've never read any material, any books or magazine articles or whatever, or seen any media reports that match the book I wrote and my daughter helped me finish after I spent about a dozen years preparing it, gathering all the wisdom of the ages on the subject of happiness, from the Bible, from all the religious testaments and priests and rabbis and religious leaders, philosophers, what have you. Anybody from going back to the Hebrew forefathers and the Christian forefathers and Plato, Socrates, the Greek philosophers who were so brilliant, and throughout the ages, all of the people that wrote about how to be happy, and one of them who actually is responsible for getting me back on this path. Actually, two, but the main one was a bishop in Manhattan named Bishop Sheehan. What was his first name? Clinton Sheehan? Anyway, Bishop Sheehan, who wrote a book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And he wrote this book, and I came across it, and I was so inspired by it. So the rest of my years, I determined to reach out and learn as much as I can to build on that book, how to be happy no matter what. And that's the reason I started to work on this book. First, to help my wife and my kids, my immediate family and all my loved ones, to be happy. Happy not as some of us in this country think of it when somebody is inebriated on 12 beers or a fifth of rye or scotch or something, a whole bottle, and is so friendly and tapping everybody on the back and laughing. Seems like the happiest person in the world, and the next morning he's depressed as anything, because it's just not happiness. It's a momentary high. I'm talking about contentment throughout all the days of your life, even through the adversary events, difficulties, tragedies, how to retain that upbeat, uplifting feeling about your life and your future. So, as a way for you to deal with the depression that we might bring about today, discussing the week's tragedies, disappointments, adversities, whether it's Ukraine or wherever, Hamas in Gaza. I mean, throughout the world, there's always, even when there's peace in the world, there's always at least 7, 8, or 10 wars going on. So, to help you deal with that, not by taking a dose of drugs that makes you high and dance around, or liquor or wine or something, a bunch of which might make you feel happy temporarily. I want to convey to you how to be happy every minute of your life, insofar as it's possible. There are times when it's literally impossible, when you've gone through some major, major tragedy. But at least if you know the strategy and the formula for getting back to happiness, a strategy that will uplift you and inspire you, my best advice is get a copy of this book that experts, leading experts, have told me It's the best presentation they've ever read on happiness. It didn't come easy. I spent 12 years working almost day and night to produce this, and I wanted it to be so perfect, I never would have finished, except my daughter said, "It's so great, you got to get it out." And she forced me by joining me. So my daughter, Rookie, ran up, joined, and she became a co-author of the book and helped me put it out. So the fastest way I can advise you, even encourage you, to get this state of mind of real happiness, of contentment, and an uplifted attitude, inspired attitude towards life, is run out. Don't walk out. Don't wait till tomorrow. Run out. Oh, you might wait till the end of the podcast, but then run out and acquire a copy of the book. And if you don't find it a worthwhile investment, a great investment, the best money you'd ever spend, if it doesn't benefit you and inspire you and make you more content, send me back the purchase price, the purchase slip that you paid for the happiness guaranteed or your misery back. At the bottom of the page, if you have it, the book, a copy of the book on your screen, it doesn't, on my screen it doesn't show the bottom of the cover, but the bottom of the cover says, "How to be happy no matter what." So run out and get it, and to make sure you're happy with it, if you're not totally inspired and uplifted and made more content immediately, send back the purchase slip and I'll return double your purchase price. That should make you a little happier. Anyway, in the meantime, as I tell you all the time, one of the quickest, the best ways to live life happily is to define a goal that you'd like to reach, that you're excited about reaching. A goal, a career, a hobby, a charity that you want to work to enhance other people's lives. Make up your mind. Think about it. It's very important to get it right, because if you think about it and you get it right, the first moment you start to work on it, you'll start to experience a lift, an inspiration, and a more content and happier life. I think I mentioned this a number of times. It's like the young man I walked up to, Thomas Edison, who developed the light bulb, changed our world. One of the most important inventions in the history of mankind, because we couldn't stay up late at night before that without reading over candlelight, which wasn't so comfortable, or we didn't have street lights. We had to light the candle light in the street. It's made an enormous difference. We couldn't drive our cars by candlelight. We had to have lights to show us the way we were going and so forth. I can't even describe the magnitude of change in our lives that that invention produced. If you think about it, you'll realize. So this young man asked Thomas Edison, how come you failed 1,000 times and you never gave up? And Thomas Edison said, young man, who told you I failed 1,000 times? And he said, Mr. Edison, everybody knows it. It's common knowledge. We always discuss it, even in school classes we discuss it. Teachers discuss it. How miraculous it was. We wouldn't have the light bulb if you weren't so dedicated to the goal and persistent in your pursuit of the goal. So Thomas Edison said, young man, I don't know where you got that information, but it's not true. I never failed once. So the young man said, don't tell me that. We all know. It's universal knowledge. Why are you saying that? He said, young man, I never failed. I failed once. 1,000 times I did succeed. It seemed like failure, but I did succeed in finding out what didn't work, and thus got one step closer to the solution. And each time I felt happy that it gave me part of the answer, which is I'm going up the wrong track, and I got to adjust my behavior, my thinking, and get back on the right track. So it was a success 1,000 times. Other people consider that a failure. I don't consider that a failure because it brought me to the ultimate success. So if you find some ultimate objective, some goal that you think will make you happy, content in life, not happy like a drunk, but content like somebody, like a baby who's sleeping comfortably in a crib. With no worries or concerns of the world's events or anything. Figure out what, and spend some time thinking about it, because you want to be sure you'll be sufficiently motivated, continue even though you think you're failing at various junctures. If you do that, the minute you start working on it, day one, the first step, the very first step, you'll start to be uplifted, inspired, and every time you'll be eager and looking forward to going back and working on getting to that ultimate destination. Just as you might be going to the most wonderful vacation in the world, to paradise. And at each step you take, you know on your way to paradise, you're elated, you're content, you're uplifted, you're inspired. Do that, and you watch and see. With step one, once you identify that and start taking that first step, your life will be at a different level. So that's the shortcut. A little longer cut is run out and buy happiness guaranteed or your misery back. That'll help you every single day. It's got all these brilliant ideas by all the top thinkers, all the way back to the biblical thinkers, the religious thinkers, the great philosophers, the wisest men throughout the ages who discussed this subject. And insofar as possible, I tried to encompass all of those ideas and thoughts of wisdom. Like Dale Carnegie was another great author that inspired me because he wrote a book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. So following Bishop Sheen's book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And if you think positively, positive things happen. So do that. And I promise you, that in itself will bring you a sense of contentment that you can't believe is so satisfactory. But the first step you take, the first week you work on this project, you'll be a new person. You'll be inspired, uplifted, and eager to get back to pursuing your destination, to what I describe as the ultimate paradise. Your goal, your dream, go to it. So don't do me a favor. I don't keep the proceeds of your purchase price. I donate it to charity. But do yourself a favor and run out, and you will be pleased with that purchase. And if for any reason you're not, I promise you, we'll let you keep the book and still return double your purchase price. So it's a no-lose situation. You win either way. God bless you and enjoy the book. Happiness guaranteed, or your misery back. And at the bottom of the page it says, how to be happy no matter what. And now to get on with the subject of the week, the news of the week, the horrors of the week, the tragedies of the week, the politics of the week. If you're somebody gets elected that you can't believe got elected because he's so bad.
When's that ever happened?
I told you, Len Carter is a genius. See, it's never happened, right? Except families are broken up these days. I've seen it, that disagree with their fellow family members or with their best friends because they hate the guy who's serving in some position, political position, and at the same time somebody in the family voted for him and thinks you're crazy and breaks up a wonderful relationship, a friendship. Family members don't even talk to each other because I don't have to tell you about it. Turn on any TV station, talk show, and you'll see the war between the members of the family, the war between the sexes, between husband and wife, between best friends. So
there are people that take their politics very seriously.
right. You need not know nothing more than somebody took a shot twice at the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and miraculously both those bullets scraped his right near his brain, right above his cheek and adjacent to his eye, between his ear and his eye. Or the one that I mentioned earlier, Kirk, a wonderful human being with a wonderful family, wonderful wife, wonderful babies. No reason he should have been hated. He didn't say anything terrible at anybody. He wasn't that kind of guy. You know, some people would say, well, Trump could be nasty. And that's true. He isn't always careful about how he describes some other member of the political leadership of some other party, calling them scums, words I can't even say on this family show, family podcast. So we have to get on with that bad news, with that discouraging, deflating, what can I tell you? Depressing news. And so without further ado, let me have Len Carter introduce the major issues that we arrived at, that he helped arrive at, relevant and with respect to some of the major events of the past week.
Thank you, Morty. So, I think today we're really going to be getting back to the roots of the show, politics, and in particular, elections, because, every 4 years we have a presidential election, 2 years midterm elections, but even on the off years, if it's the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, it's an election. And so less than a week will be the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, so we're looking at some elections based on the state cycles.
What is it,
and
about 10 days away? Or
less than a week.
Less than a week?
Yep. So, not as big races as at the federal level, but there's a few interesting and vocal and important state elections and local city elections. So why don't we start with...
You might point out that the turnout of voting in these interim elections, as compared to the one for the president, for sure, the turnout is infinitesimal. And even some of the ones when we vote for governor or some other key position has a bigger turnout.
Yeah, what I want to start with is the mayoral election in New York City.
Mayoral? Oh,
and,
yeah.
And so I think, that should have a decent turnout. People are, if nothing, bombarded left and right by TV ads and other media supporting one of the now three candidates, Zohran Mamdani, former Governor Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa. So, just let me get your take, kind of big picture. What we've seen this surge of Mamdani from maybe a year ago or thereabouts, of like 2%, going just surging in the race. What do you think that says about the generational and ideological shifts that are occurring in New York City?
I couldn't be more disappointed, more depressed to see somebody to see somebody like Mamdani being the leader. If the election were held today and it doesn't change, he's likely to be elected.
Handedly.
At least the polls show
Yeah,
that.
not even narrowly.
And not even narrowly, yeah, he has a big lead. For a guy who's an avowed anti-Semite, he articulates that he hates the Jews, and an avowed communist wants to introduce communism in New York when it hasn't worked, even in countries that dedicated their total energy to that kind of economy and behavior. Russia tried it, China tried it, and even though they're called communists, they're the farthest thing from communists. It's the Communist Party that runs China, but Karl Marx would turn over in his grave if he realized that China was called communist because they have more billionaires today than even the United States. It's very capitalistic in a sense, because if it were communist, it was run as a communist country, you get only what you need from those who need, how does it go from?
To those according to their need, from those according to their abilities.
That's it. Say that again loud.
So you get what you need, and you give what your ability
Yeah, you
provide.
contribute your efforts.
To those according to their needs, so you get what you need, and from those according to their abilities. So if you have more, you give more,
Right.
and if you need more, you get more.
And this guy, I mean, I don't know why they don't call him a liar, because he can't possibly do what he says he's going to do. He says he's going to give free food. He's going to empty the jails. He's going to take the money back from that supports the police force. He's alienating Washington to the point where the most important new infrastructure between New York and New Jersey, that's long overdue. The new replacement for the Holland Tunnel that's been approved, and now Trump is so turned off by Adami. He says if Adami gets elected, the United States government will not back any of the major issues that the federal government is involved in and backs. So without the federal government's support, he couldn't do any of the things that he's talking about. And he makes the claim, and people naively believe him. It sounds terrific. Anybody that promises you everything without any effort surely would get elected if you were confident and sure that he would deliver it. Because how could you vote against that? So here's a guy that comes along, tells a bunch of dreams, wishful thinking of most human beings, and says, I'm going to fulfill those dreams even though it's impossible. People with wealthy guys, wealthy businessmen and oligarchs who pay most of the taxes, or so much of a major portion of the taxes in the New York have already started
So
to leave.
let's talk about that.
So where does he get the resources to deliver any of that? And why would he deprive the police, the one good thing we spend money on, one of the good things we spend money on, from having funds so they could police the neighborhoods that have major crime activity, murders.
So let's talk about taxes, because it's something we've often discussed on the show and in other contexts about how progressive the tax system should be in terms of higher taxes for those earning more, and you've often thought that there should be additional taxes on the upper end income brackets. So what do you think about I believe his proposal is to add like a 3% income tax to those making, I think, more than $1 million in New York City. Do you think that that's not a good idea? Do you think that people who make a lot of money will leave New York City if their taxes increase by 3 percentage points?
I have two things to say about that. Number one, adding 3% income tax would not cover a fraction of what he's of what he's promising. So he's putting forth a bunch of lies that he can't fulfill, even if he were really the best genius, because you can't do it without money. What he's proposing, everything that he's proposing costs money, except depriving the police of a budget. That would be available. 3% plus that money would not cover what he's promising. Crime would rise enormously. He's talking about letting people out without bail, criminals, getting them out of the jail, including the worst criminals of all, those on Rikers Island. I mean, what he's doing is the old in the old cowboy movies, the old movies where guys drove around in horse and buggies with all the medicines that cured every disease, every ailment. It was wonderful. You know, what did they call them? I forget.
The snake oil salesman?
Yes, the snake oil salesman. Thank you. I told you, Len knows everything. Snake oil. He's a snake oil salesman. He doesn't have the resources to do what he wants. The ones that are paying the largest amount of taxes have already cast their vote. So many of them voted to leave New York completely. So he's a liar. But when you promise dreams and people believe it, you got a good chance to get elected.
So do you think that, I mean, all of his proposals require cooperation from Albany, meaning, you know, state legislatures and the governor. So Governor Hochul's come out to support him. Do you think that, you know, she'll continue, you think that she'll go along with those proposals, like, you know, to implement rent freezes or free buses or the city-run grocery stores? Those will require, you know, legislative approval from Albany. Do you think that Governor Hochul is going to end the state legislature in New York will go along with that? Because if they don't, then all his plans just go nowhere. It really
I could-
requires
I could
a
never-
greater cooperation.
I could never understand the motivation of some people and how they decide to vote for whom. I think most people, in fact, vote against the one more than they vote for the one enthusiastically. People that vote against the Republican vote against Trump. People that voted against Biden voted for Trump because they don't like Biden. So the fact, in my book, I can't vote for Hochul or Hakeem
Jeffries.
Jeffers, because both the governor, Hochul, and the Democratic majority leader in the House of Representatives,
Minority leader.
minority leader, have come out. I just can't believe it. Have come out and endorsed. Hochul did it right away. Hakeem Jeffers held off till practically the last minute, only endorsing Adami in the last week, just before the election. But I think knowledgeable people are going to vote, even Democrats are going to vote against Hochul and Hakeem in the future,
So do you think
based on that ridiculous.
it's not often that we have a real three-way race in New York City? Do you think a vote for Cuomo is really a vote for Mamdani?
Well, unless something changes in the next several days, it looks like Adami is a shoo-in. If the Republican candidate drops out, Curtis Sliwa, I know him a long time. He's a good guy. He's a friend of mine. He's done a lot of good things for New York. He's had a wonderful talk show on ABC for many years. He's an activist, and he's never run for office, so I don't know.
Well, he's run for mayor a few times.
Has he?
Yeah.
I never knew.
Yeah, a few times, I think.
Well, so if he stays in the race, and Cuomo stays in the race, then Adami seems like a shoo-in. If Cuomo drops out, I doubt that Curtis Lee would win anyway, because Democrats would not vote for somebody who Trump is endorsing. So
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I don't think it matters. I think if Fleawad dropped out, Mamdani wins. I think if Cuomo drops out, Mamdani wins. I don't think it matters because the people, aren't going to vote for Cuomo. The only way that Cuomo would win is if Mamdani dropped out, which isn't going to happen.
I'm not sure that's true. If it was just between Cuomo and Mamdani, some people might say, I'm not voting for a guy who's a liar.
I
don't know why they don't run campaigns like that. That Mamdani is a liar. He could never do it, even if he was sincerely going to try and sincere in his promises.
Well, he could do it if he gets the cooperation of Albany. He could do it.
No, not Albany.
Yeah, if the governor,
Albany doesn't have
sure,
the kind of money that
the state could fund through
They couldn't-
deficit spending,
they couldn't-
bonds or whatever, they could do it.
couldn't build the Holland Tunnel, no.
I'm not talking about the Holland Tunnel. I'm talking about free
But-
buses.
but the
I'm talking
but the
about
no,
freezing the rent. I'm talking about the city-run grocery stores. All the populist
The
policies
state-
that
the
he
state-
wants to do.
The state couldn't do it. They don't
with-
have enough money. They
Sure
don't have
they
the
could.
kind of money that
Sure they could.
the federal. Why do you say
Because
that?
that's how it works. The state doesn't have to
think
balance
they
a
could
budget. State doesn't have to run a balanced budget. If the state wanted to fund free buses, they could do it with the approval of the state legislature and the governor
I don't-
and the city. They could surely
I
do
don't
it.
think
Sure.
the
Will they
government-
is a different
I don't
question.
think just because the governor endorses him
That's not what I said.
that the Albany
If
the
this,
House of
if they did, if
but they wouldn't.
well, that I don't know. That's what I asked you before. Do you
They-
think they will?
No, I don't believe they
I don't know. I
go
mean,
into
this is.
massive.
I don't know.
deficit.
I hope you're right, but this
I'm
is the
positive.
state. This is the assembly that voted for the cashless bail. So it's not. It's there are some left leaning.
Cashless bail is a segment, a tiny segment
But I'm saying
of what you're talking
it's
about.
the political
Never
appetite.
happens.
I hope you're right, but I'm saying it could. Well, you're saying it
I'm
can't.
saying
I'm saying it
The
could.
federal government could do it, and the state government can't.
If
That's my
well,
firm conviction.
if the state legislature voted to do it, and the governor
I
signed
don't
it,
even want
they
to
would
find
have.
out.
I don't either, but it.
I don't think New York could afford Adami and his sequences, a whole list of promises that he could never fulfill. Outright lies. To promise your kids a dream that you can't fulfill for them, even though you'd like to and you mean to, is not healthy and it's not recommended. Because they'll learn quickly. You're a damn liar.
So with our
Once he gets in, it won't take long.
with our time being about up, let's just ask one future
Is our
question.
time almost
It
up?
is. It is.
We hardly got into any of the week's events.
Well, that's what next week's for.
Yeah.
What do you think that this race would predict or will serve as any kind of early predictor for 2026 or 2028? Do you think it's a harbinger of a left-moving trend, or do you think that the negative fallout from some of these policies will actually be a benefit to more conservative voices in the coming elections?
It could be if one of these guys in New Jersey or New York wins overwhelmingly. It might indicate, I think particularly among young people, how susceptible young people are to promises and particularly the promise of change. Because young people are never happy with the way things are. They always think if we change, it'll be better. So it could be a forecast of the 26th
Mm-hmm.
and even the 28th presidential, although if you listen to Steve Bannon, so Steve Bannon says he's definitely, Trump is definitely, I don't think he got that for sure from Trump, but he has a pretty good idea of what the thinking of the, what is it called, making a
MAGA.
of the MAGA
The MAGA
community.
base, the base, yes.
And when they said, well, he can't, it's the law, they changed the law, they changed the Constitution. He says, we know that, and we figured out a number of ways we can overcome that. So clearly, that's in the mind of many of the MAGA people. There's nobody on the Democratic side that frightens them as being an overwhelming favorite at this juncture. What's her name? Harris. What's her first name?
Kamala.
Kamala Harris doesn't seem to have won a very popular following, a very dedicated following. The only other person that's discussed seriously as a possible likely Democratic is the governor of California, and he may have a chance, but there's no, and there's Shapiro in Pennsylvania that has positive poll results. But if Trump was not able to manage to get the nomination of the Republican Party, depending on the economy and so forth, he could very well win. He's never hurt by laws or rules
That's right.
or indictments.
Yep.
He overcomes it all and wins bigger.
All right. Well,
thank you all
to be
for
continued.
joining this. I'm sorry it ends so quickly. We hardly get into even half of the subjects we have down to. Anyway, God bless you all. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful every day of your life. Each day should be better than the prior day unto eternity. I love you, and I look forward to being back with you a week from tonight, 6:30 every Wednesday. Have a great week, great every day of your life. Bye.